I'm interviewing Brian Desir, who on the 25th of April, and also present is Paul Jolly. So, hello Brian, lovely to
Hi,
see
how
you
you
again.
doing, Muddy? Good to see you.
Gonna ask you a few questions now. So, where were you born, Brian?
Born in Luton, actually, in
Right.
'65.
Yeah.
And my father was one of the first St. Lucians to come to Luton. There were only one or two before him. And at the time I was born, we lived on Dunphy Street, so basically near the town centre.
Right.
Yeah.
Lovely. So, where did you go to school?
I started off from the nursery. Where was that nursery again? Was it Russell Street? Just on top, above the police station.
There was a nursery on Rothsay Road.
Rothsay Road it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Rothsay Road, that's right.
Was
It
it
was
well
run
known
by
nursery?
nuns at the time, back in the day. That's where I started, and I think from there, I must have first gone to school at Della Road.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right. And then,
Maidenhall, and then Tennyson Road,
okay.
and then back to Della Road.
So, when you left school, what did you do then?
I left school. I was originally supposed to go to the military, to the RAF, originally, but just certain things on the racial side of it, I just thought, nah, I don't really want to have to deal with all of that
Okay.
back in the day. So I didn't go in the end. And then I was working like double glazing and but I used to box as a kid. That was my sport. Football and all of that, nah. But boxing was good. Obviously Muhammad Ali, Frazier and all these guys
Yeah.
were the best in the world at what they've done. And you still had this civil rights thing going. So I think a lot of West Indian kids of my generation could relate to these guys. Clive Lloyd, Vivian Richards, cricket. The West Indies and the cricket, we could relate to all of these guys, and my path back then was like boxing.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So then, when you didn't do that, what did you do? When you decided against going into the military as such?
Well, I was working on and off, double glazing, labouring and stuff. I'd gone into the Rastafarian philosophy at that stage of time as well. But yeah, so I was just basically in and out, bits and pieces, a little graft here, a little bit. It was easier then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a lot easier then. You didn't have to work to get by as such. You could work on and off, and as cash in hand. People got on a lot easier then than you can now. So I just basically got on with it, so to speak. But then going back a bit, I was into boxing, yeah?
Yeah.
We went to the Caribbean, 77 maybe, 77, maybe 76. We went to the Caribbean as a family trip with my parents, and them days people didn't have TVs and so the lick was the cinema. Obviously, Bruce Lee died 72, so you still got a massive martial arts Bruce Lee mania going on. In the Caribbean, it's martial art films from China. So we go to this cinema now, and still there, the building is still there. I went to this cinema in our town, and I watched my first martial arts movie. And obviously you've got like a very acrobatic sort of choreographed fight act. I've never seen anything like this before. It just blew my mind. And I think for me, that was the game changer.
Right.
As in what I wanted to do. It's like, oh wow, this is something I'd love to do. There was nowhere around in Luton that taught it at the time. It was either karate or aikido or judo, and in these movies, those are the bad guys, the Japanese, you know. So, we don't want to learn the bad guys are. But at the same time, it was the movement. You know, Kung Fu is very graceful. There's all the mind in there, you know, body, mind and spirit. It's very good. And that was Muhammad Ali. He's on his toes and there's a jab and he makes a miss and he does a dance and he throws a combination, you know. He had a beautiful way about his performance. And that's Kung Fu as well. So we got back to the UK and eventually I'd get on a train and find a school in Soho. So we've gone right the way to Chinatown to learn. And very early, I mean, I had this boxing experience and little martial arts experience from friends and people in Luton. So I had a foundation when I went into the school. And it just so happened that I ended up eating out of the teacher's hand. So I've said to him from earlier on, eventually when I'm of level, I would really like to teach because obviously it wasn't around in this area. It was something I enjoyed doing. And back in the day, you didn't really have coaches and fitness coaches, not like it is now. Mm-hmm. It was more like a casual thing. You'd go to these groups, but now it's like proper profession. Mm-hmm. People go to university. That's what my daughter wants to do. She wants to go into sports science, you know, in uni and that. So it come to the point where I was of level and we set something up. And we had all these projects going on in Luton at the time while I was learning. You had, I think what you were starting, 33 Arts. You had the grid. What was Major working at? There was that little kind of nightclub, social club, and they were in the basement on Guildford Street, weren't they? That was Major, and they used to have these Saturday night do's with live music and whatever.
That was the grid, wasn't it?
Was that part of the grid? I think it was where the grid is at, yeah.
I think so.
So they were in there doing all the work and all the plastering and painting at one point. 33 was going down at one point. You had that building. And where I was based was Princess Street.
Okay.
With, what was her name? Miss Prophet.
Don't know.
Miss Prophet, there was Derek Spalding, there was Joe Baker.
I remember Joe. Yeah.
Well, Joe, is it Joe? Bob
Baker. Yeah.
Oh, Bob Baker.
Yeah. There was Bob Baker.
He's still around.
Bob was brand new to us then. He'd only just come to town.
Okay.
And he stepped into that job there and was working. I've got a picture, I was so young in that picture, I almost look like, well, my son looks like me. Spitting image, you know. But I met you at 33. How I ended up in there, I think, was through the cafe, which is why I mentioned the girl from Crete, I don't know if she was from Crete, but she used to go to Crete all the time, went into the cafe and we were talking. I think I was looking for somewhere to work from, and the centre was fairly new. You had a guy in the cafeteria that actually done a bit of Wing Chun. And so we've got the slot of the room upstairs.
Yeah.
And that's where I started teaching with my very first students.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you first come into 33, so you've told me that, lovely, so I don't need to ask you that now. But that was your first, so that was the first place you taught?
Well, I actually taught in Radlett in a church hall before then, because I was living there, and the reason I was living there, Radlett was like in the middle of London, Luton. Radlett's in the middle, so it was easier for me to commute. At that point, for a year or so, I was training nearly full time.
Yeah. And
helping the teach and clean the gym, and we're here up in London, helping out the teacher, and us guys used to basically have the facilities to train ourselves, and we might train like any students that he had that wanted to use the gym and learn. We also helped teach them. The teacher had a shop on Carnaby Street, so we just kind of helped, and in helping out we kind of got to learn the business more, so to speak.
So when you came into 33, I remember you coming and talking to me and asking me about using a room there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the first time for 33 to let a room out. Somebody had asked who wasn't doing one of the usual art
Things,
forms like
yeah,
music,
yeah.
dance and all of that, to do sort of like martial arts. So it was great because it was a different thing, but it was acting as it always wanted to be. It was for the community. You're part of the community, you wanted to do something, and so you did that. And how did that help you in any way, and did it keep you going on doing that teaching?
Yeah, it was a very, very, very good launching pad. Like I say, things were a lot more casual back then, and now when these young instructors start in these centres, half the centres are like looking on the clock. You've got an hour to come in. It's, you know, they've got to pay 33 quid an hour. If they haven't got like a healthy number of students, it's going to be very difficult for them to keep this going if they're young and starting out. Or what the centres might do is actually pay them and charge, so they're running the school basically. And so that's what a lot of establishments want to do now. But 33 was different because obviously we paid what we were due to pay, but we were given the freedom and the space to grow. You know, when you're young and that, you're training, you're not just training because it's a class and you're getting paid, you're training because you're doing something that you enjoy. Whether it was a martial arts, whether it was a dance, whether it was people making costumes, or they actually enjoyed what they were doing. I do remember you doing the burning of Town Hall.
Oh, yeah. All right, yeah.
On People's Park, and even though, you know, it was quite a big thing really, and you guys set this thing on fire in the park. I believe the firemen were there and that to put it out, and you had this big, I remember you had this massive hat on, but at the end of the day, it took a lot to do that. Organised, health and safety is a different ball game again today to what it is now. But you're all enjoying yourselves. You've done it because it was something that you loved and it was something that you wanted to give the community. And that's how it was for me. I'm a kid back from the Caribbean. Wow, this kung fu stuff just, and it's like, wow, I want to do this, but there's nowhere around. Now, most people would give up at that point, or they'd go to something else. But, you know, you have that will and you do what you have to do. You graft, you work for a plasterer as a labourer for pathetic money, but it's enough to achieve your goal. So you go down that road and, you know, a couple of years or so, some of it full time, you're ready to start something. You know, where did them 2 years go? It seems like months rather than years. You're ready now, you start. So I started at 33 in the little room, and away we went, and we had some good fun. Some of the guys achieved some great potential from then, you know. And then for me now, I eventually ended up with another teacher, learning a slightly more advanced style, but maybe not as physical. But I had that physical thing from the first school. Second teacher now teaches me more science, more depth, more like how you actually use your muscles to do certain techniques, how you conserve energy, the relaxation and all the rest. There's a lot of yin and yang going on in your body in martial arts, you know, so that was some in-depth teaching. And then that was a pathway to the Grand Master himself, whose father taught Bruce Lee.
Okay.
So we now have gone to the direct route of it, and still, I mean, it's been what, 40 years now, hasn't it? It's 41 years.
41 years.
We say we started in 83 at 33. 83 at 33, and we're now in 24. That's actually 41 years ago.
Oh, I know. Tell me about it.
Somewhere this summer it will be, so it's a great achievement, you know. I remember going to Hong Kong with the Grand Master, and a lot of the people, a lot of the girls, they've never seen a tall black guy with hair like mine before. So the whole city now, everywhere we go, is coming to a standstill. And what are we talking? 89, aren't we? So, wow. How many years is that? That's 30 something years, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
ago, and yeah, the Grandmaster was just like, he was just having a laugh of it, you know. Yeah, and he's got Alzheimer's now. He's 99, climbing towards 100 this August, September. He'll be 100 years old, and he still remembers those trips I shared with him out there, you know. So it's been good, you know, from 33 to Hightown to teaching all over the south of England and stuff, going to the Far East, performing on some of the major stages out there, to Wing Chun World Conventions, and also the very first Bruce Lee ceremony for a statue being unveiled of Bruce Lee. I actually performed and gave a speech.
Wow.
So, and that was in 2002. Yeah, 2002.
That's 20 years ago.
Yeah. And I've had my family out there taking a photo by the monument, you know. So yeah, the years roll on.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, basically getting on that, well, from seeing that movie in the Caribbean to coming back home, getting on that train and finding a school in Soho, and then becoming somebody that teaches the thing, starting off at 33 to, you know, being a world personality within the discipline goes a long way. Yeah. And I suppose without the support from 33, I suppose it could have still been achieved. But I think working with the flexibility of 33 and Hightown Rec as well, but more the flexibility of 33, I think our introduction to the town hall through Amanda Kassan, remember Amanda?
Yeah.
That got us demonstrating on St. George's Square, and I think that sort of like exposure opened doors as well. So and that would never have happened without you, Muddy, because you was the one that asked me to come, and I think I met Amanda in your company, but I went to see her and we had a chat about, I remember doing this display on St. George's Square. I was scared. Wow, there's going to be loads of people looking at us.
Was that with your students?
Yeah.
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 You was wearing red, wasn't you?
I look like a gold sort of uniform
red and
that was
gold.
tailored for that event.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I was afraid. I'd done demonstrations before on Leicester Square, Chinese New Year with the teacher. So I'd been involved in a handful of demonstrations with the teacher, my first master, as we say. And but doing your own and running it, and I was petrified. But what you do when you're scared, you get your head down and you work your way through what you need to do rather than panic and sit in a horse. So I trained until the day, and it was brilliant. It was
Fantastic.
Brilliant, but we had to get through the first 60 seconds. So get through the first 60 seconds and you get into the flow. It's been good and good memories. It's sad to go down to Guildford Street now, and a lot of these places are gone. No more 33. The original building's been knocked down now, hasn't it? And stuff. Lots of even my first infant junior school, Dalla Road, is gone. It's a Sikh temple now. So we're in a different world.
We are.
But I think you know, those of us that have grown from establishments like 33, we gain something quite special that perhaps we should try and hold on to some of that and share it with some of these young ones coming up, because I think the world is becoming a little bit too mechanical.
For sure, yeah.
A little bit too much kind of like away from humanity, so to speak, and we need to go back to that roots of what we are, you know, body, mind and spirit.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Brian. That was wonderful.
Brian.
Wonderful ending and brilliant and lovely to hear all that and to see you again.
You're more than
Gorgeous.
welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.